G'day, David from the Melbourne Maker. I'm in the process of making a workbench, which means for the first time I'm going to need to chisel out some mortise and tenons. So today we're going to see if we can make a wooden mallet out of some old pallet wood and see how good we can make it. Let's get into it.
So, up until this moment, I've avoided needing a wooden mallet by being a fake woodworker and not using any hand tools. As you all know, I'm a tight ass. I spend my spare time collecting pallets so I don't need to buy wood. So, true to form, I tried to avoid needing to buy a mallet by using other things in my shop. That went well. To be fair though, the drill on hammer mode wasn't terrible. But maybe these so-called woodworkers are onto something. So I figured I'd go to Australia's #1 mallet maker, Dana Made's store, to buy one of his hundreds of mallets I keep seeing him make on Instagram. Wait a minute, seriously? All of them sold out? Come on, Dainsy. So after that terrible disappointment, there's only one other option: to make one. Yet again, finishing this workbench is going to need to wait. But how hard can it be to make a mallet? Just whack a couple of bits of wood together. So, after thinking about it for a grand total of 37 seconds and foraging through my pallet wood pile, these seem to be the heaviest pieces of all my random hardwood. First up is running them through the planer to get nice flat glue-up edges. They're pretty straight, so I'm not going to worry about getting them perfect. End of the day, we'll be gluing them up, and hey, it's just a hammer. Now, this will all make much more sense in a second when I explain the design. But until then, you can be mesmerised by my amazing mitre saw and table saw skills. Okay, so we have 5 main pieces cut to size. The actual dimensions are not really important. You can make them any size that feels right for you. Myself, I wanted to channel my inner Thor fantasy. But the important thing is to ensure that the centerpieces of the hammer head and the handle are exactly the same thickness when milled down. Other than that, it's all pretty much fair game. After a quick dry fit, we're going to glue the hammer head together and leave it to dry. Now normally at this point you'd see footage of me doing just that, but it would turn out between one camera deciding it didn't want to actually camera that day because of the 40+ degree weather, and my hard drive deciding it didn't want to remember things, as hard drives are meant to, you'll just have to imagine how I managed to create this abomination of clamps. Anyway, while that's drying, we can shape the handle and cut the slot at the top that'll be home to the wedge to hold the hammerhead in place. That means I get to use my fancy new wood scriber. I'm terrible at using it, but how purty is it? I swear I'll become a real woodworker. Now, you can use a table saw for this cut, but I figure if I'm going to pretend to be a real woodworker, I may as well use a handsaw. My Amazon tool collection is really getting a workout today. Also, I swear to God, I can't wait to get rid of this workbench. That damn drawer. Now, to actually shape the handle, the ideal way would be to use a lathe. I've even seen people smarter than myself use a drill as a makeshift one, but what I'm going to do is lose some weight instead. Now, I started off with an old wood file, but decided I wanted to get it done sometime this year, so switched over to my carbon steel scraper, which worked far better than expected. Genuinely, one of the best Amazon finds so far. I then cleaned up a few rough edges of tear out with the file and then sanded it down. After we've cleaned up all the rough edges on the table saw and checked that we're bang on the money with the size of the handle, I decide to put a slight angle on the hammerhead. What is the correct angle, you ask? No clue. I guess about 3 degrees was going to be about right. But was it right? Again, no idea. But I'm sure the internet's busy filling the comments section with the correct answer. Wow, look at me getting sidetracked. Next up, we're going to use my looks totally professional trick by putting chamfers on all the edges. As far as effort for reward goes in woodworking, chamfering edges is up there. After all that's done, there's one more piece we've forgotten about. The wedge that will go in the top of the handle to hold the hammerhead tightly in place. Now a real woodworker would probably cut this piece by hand. Myself, I'm going to cheat as usual and cut a strip on the table saw, not going all the way through as I haven't made myself a zero clearance insert for the table saw yet. Then use my orbital sander to get it down to a rough wedge sort of shape. Is it perfect? No. Does it work? Hell yeah. The other thing we've forgotten about is sanding. We all love sanding, right? Anyway, you know what sanding looks like. Just keep on sanding until your depression gets bored and leaves. That's when you know it's done. So now that we have solved my depression, we end up with these 3 pieces ready for assembly. Now, it doesn't matter how much I plan to glue up, or how small it is, it always stresses me out. And then, because I'm stressed, it never goes perfectly. Then, because it's not going perfectly, I get more stressed. It ends up escalating quite quickly. But in the end, we managed to get it all together, and the wedge that I should have cut down before trying to hammer it in is seated in the handle. Then all that's left is one more quick sand to finish it off, and finally, no more sanding. Well, apart from after wetting it down and needing to sand it again, for good measure. But after that, all the sanding's done. So the final product came up alright. Made from pallets in an afternoon that was too hot to do any real work, I'm pretty happy with it. If you've made it this far, genuinely, thank you. See you on the next one.
So today, we're going to see if we can make a wooden pallet out of some... We're not making a wooden pallet. That's not what we're doing at all.